A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our audience who are joining from different parts of the world today. Before we start the session, I would like to specially thank Ms. Berta Hedy, who's from Peru and a regular participant in our Sciative Knowledge Series, for her encouraging remarks that she finds our series highly informative and insightful. Well, thank you, Berta, for your continued patronage of our program, and we'll continue to bring amazing speakers and thought leaders in our series. In the same lines, a distinguished speaker today is Ruben Pandian. Ruben is a highly accomplished professional with over 21 years experience in retail, FMCG, e-commerce, omni-channel retail. He is currently working as head of planning and merchandising at Tata Unistore Limited. Earlier, he has held senior leadership positions at Irwin Brands, Reliance Retail, Gillette, PepsiCo, Dabur, and Wipro. He's a fitness and sports enthusiast and a certified youth coach. He regularly participates in marathons. He is also the founder and coach at Sports Shoots, a voluntary initiative to spread sports into the lives of all Indians, especially children. He's graduated with honors from St. Stephen's College at New Delhi and got his MBA from Somaya Institute of Management Studies at Mumbai. So thank you, Ruben, for sharing your thoughts in our series today.
Thanks so much, Doctor. I think the introduction was far more elaborate than what I would have expected. My 21 years have actually gone by in certain patches more like a breeze. I am in two lines. I'm actually a sportsman at heart and student at large. So learning is a daily endeavor, which is what actually brought me to the e-commerce space. My journey has started from FMCG. I moved from FMCG to from a manufacturing setup to offline experience across offline retail, and then recently I moved to the other side of the table, experiencing and learning the e-commerce business as it develops and expands in our country.
Well, Ruben, it's truly an honor for us to have you speak with us today. Just few comments for the audience. Audience, you can follow the live comments being posted on this series by other participants on Twitter using hashtag AskRuben, hashtag Sciative Knowledge. Towards the end of the session, as time permits, we'll take questions posted by the audience. Make sure to put hashtag AskRuben and hashtag Sciative Knowledge in your posts. Now, today, Ruben will be talking on generating trust and impacting operating price on e-commerce. Now, in Indian scenarios, e-commerce and online retail is almost going at a rocket solid speed. And on the other side, many players are struggling with operating prices and profitability. And this is probably the best topic and the most relevant topic for the Indian e-commerce industry today. And thank you, Ruben, for picking this topic and would love to hear your thoughts. So over to you.
Generating trust, I think, pretty much evolves at the heart of any business, whether it's offline or online. But given in the last 4 or 5 years, given the skepticism and the lack of awareness of people actually engaging on the online space, we still, in spite of the growth boom, we still have a very minuscule percentage of the total retail still on online business. I guess Indians by nature take a little while to start trusting a new channel. But there is a young generation which is moving in very rapidly, trying it out, experiencing it, and moving the business and the industry at a pretty rapid pace. So let me just give you my perspectives as being somebody who spent time on both sides of the table in what the role of trust and what are the two critical factors, in my opinion, which impact the development and generation of trust to basically ensure you have a profitable business going forward. I'll start with a couple of generic slides so that we all loosen up and align on what we are talking about. Of course, we're talking about price, which is fundamentally what drives profitably for an organization. Whether it's online or offline, since we're talking online today, we will more or less direct our examples and thoughts towards the online space. But I might, due to my basic nature of my experience has also been more on the offline space, I might go back and forth between the two businesses, which in my experience, I realized the fundamentals have not changed. It's only the channel and the channel dynamic dynamics and how it influences the consumer which has changed, but the basic fundamentals of doing business, in my opinion, hasn't changed significantly. The main factors positively influencing perceived value comes from price. We all know good old Kotler very clearly mentioned price is defined by the value that is perceived by the customer against the cost perceived by the customer. The difference between that drives and derives price. The big thing is people spend a larger time engaging with price as a factor when the price goes up at a higher level. Something when you have to spend 10 rupees, for example, or $1 somewhere, you might not think and engage as much as when you would spend $1,000 or 10,000 rupees on a product. So similarly, the expectation or the requirement of trust under these engagements obviously operate at a significantly different level. These are areas where a retailer or a business unit should look constantly to optimize any opportunity of operating price, or what we call as typically price elasticity for a particular operating price point, which can be leveraged to enhance profitability. Just a quick example. I love to play with images. Instead of boring slides. So I just want to share with you 4 slides. This is a beautiful clean shot from the Apple site. Very clearly one of their new launches, not a very big success, but in my opinion, a great phone, selling currently as we speak today at 39,000 rupees. The same product, if you were to scan through an Amazon, it's selling at 34,290. If I move to a Flipkart, one of our India online successes, is selling at 35,390. And where I come from, a 2-month-old commerce venture from the large Indian conglomerate Tata, selling it at 35,900. Now the question is, why these multiple operating prices? Who's buying from where? It's not that a particular product is not moving. At 35,900, we are selling this product. I'm sure Amazon is selling a large quantity on this product. So is Flipkart. And so is a niche customer who's buying purely from an Apple site, whereby the trust level on this product, in my understanding, would be the maximum. To be able to buy a genuine Apple product from an Apple site. There comes our discussion for today on consumer trust. Trust creates a willingness to engage between a customer and a retailer, in this case, a customer and the online store that we are discussing. While generating trust, it's not a linear relationship between if you put this, a trust gets generated. It's a 360-degree multiple factors which influence generation of trusts. There are tangibles and there are a lot of intangibles. But once trust gets generated, it has fairly large number of positive rub-offs. It influences buying decisions, it influences repeat purchases, it influences the amount of money or an amount of transaction or amount, in simple parlance, amount of risk a consumer is willing to take with an online retailer. How he or she speaks about the experience to others, which is advocacy. The time one spends, which entails the possibility of increasing basket sizes, possibility of increasing category spends. And the derived output is, what is the kind of price premium one is willing to pay on that engagement, purely on the base of comfort, which comes from trust. Quickly for us to go through some of the best practices which retailers across the globe are using as we speak today. Brands, very clearly, the fundamental ethos of brand building that people have invested millions and billions over the years on multiple successful companies, where the valuation of a brand goes a long way in building the market cap for an organization, drives the critical trust. So people build brands purely to generate trust. In the online space, a great web design generates trust. If you see a navigation where the user interface and user experience is significantly better on a retailer A versus retailer B, the relevance and the association with that online space is significantly more. Sitemaps are also a tool which a lot of large retailers and complicated websites use to basically help the consumers navigate. I've seen these being used very effectively with the likes of Amazon, but some of the newer site development retailers might have missed this, because a sitemap actually helps reduce bounce rates significantly, which some of the new retailers have not been able to leverage as much. But sometimes it takes a little longer time for the tech team to actually put up a very simplified and user-friendly sitemap on the site. The other one, of course, is the humanizing your site experience, which is the tonality and how you're speaking to your consumer. A classic example would be Flipkart, in my opinion. Flipkart has been successful in multiple categories, but a lot of researchers were very clearly shown to Flipkart that they've been speaking to the male consumer for a long period of time. And last couple of years, no matter how much they've tried, their response or their relationship with the women consumers on the online space has not been as positive as they would have liked it to be. Which is why the strategic decision to pick up some a space like Myntra has worked beautifully for them, whereby Myntra had a very positive association from the women's consumer base. This is an area I truly believe, this is my personal opinion, that Amazon has scored a few more points against the Flipkart ability to manage women as a large segment, which obviously is one of the largest growing segments and driving the retail business in our country. The other one very clearly is the consistent service ecosystem. We broadly break it up, of course, into the delivery space, the post-sale service, and the other big things which people with the experience of Amazon, who are using it to their huge advantage, of course, is the content and content credentials.
Hey, Ruben, can I quickly ask you one question?
Yes.
See, if you go back to the previous slide, you've listed down 5 areas that brands can focus on for the purpose of generating trust. And rightly, as you have mentioned, brands generate trust, great website design, generate trust, site maps, humanizing the site engagement, and consistent service ecosystems. Now, for e-commerce companies, would you like to also propose a priority order, or how important each of these different areas are? Like, if you have to pick top two out of these five, which one would you go for?
Dr. Jalora, give me a couple of more slides. I think I will be answering your question very quickly.
Wonderful. We'll wait for that.
The other one, I'm just listing on some of these. I will be picking out through my experience, through what I've seen in terms of what has given success to the industry, as well as my personal opinions. Transparency on terms and conditions is something I believe is still, barring a few larger players, which is also evolving, is still not as transparent in most of the active sites. I think recently, if you've seen, I'm sure a lot of you are actively following the industry growth and as well as the leading players. You would see Flipkart has made a major investment in this. In fact, their product display page, typically called the PDP as regular parlance in the industry, has significantly evolved in terms of reducing levels of ambiguity as far as any communication is concerned. I would be sharing some of these with you as well. And of course, when I said the consistency to deliver promise, of course, I think Amazon is leading the fray as far as this is concerned. Reliability has been an issue across the board, and in the early days, multiple Indian retailers have faltered due to various reasons in terms of consumer dissonance, in terms of order versus what actually gets delivered, which is obviously has been improving through the development of the LP, which is a local logistics service provider, as well as the kind of technology which is coming, the ability to track products at the time of order to dispatch to delivery has been tracked so well to minimize the variations and dissonance which has been created in terms of this mismatch. And of course, the other one, which is a great opportunity, in my opinion, purely to build a comfort and a feeling of responsibility, where we all know what we call as a 404 typical parlance, which is a lot of people call it mislink or missing pages, which is a standard thing which comes on any website when a consumer is browsing, where the link goes off. That's a site where, if reports and monitors are far more effective and the retailer can set it up or correct it at the fastest pace, would win in the longer period of time. Typically, something like this: you go to a Lego site and you have 404. On the Tata website, you would see something called Dang, and you will see a camel with an apologetic face. These are things which are not completely in the control of a retailer because technology is involved, but the ability of a retailer to act on it at the fastest pace actually generates a humongous level of confidence and comfort while dealing with a website. So when you said in which order of priority would I highlight or push for retailers to optimize best practices, in my opinion, content is one of the leading attributes or variable which will drive trust. Unlike the offline space where physical engagement defines and the consistent behavior of whether it's the frontline staff or the ability to manufacture something consistently and consistently generates trust and develops on trust. In the online space, all these are actually presented in the form of content. So the retailer who invests on content the most, in my opinion, is going to be the winner in this space. And the other one, in the evolving market, we've been talking about omni-channel, which in the yesteryears used to be called multi-channel. But omni-channel, the way it's defined, is another opportunity which would define success going forward in the e-commerce space. The way I look at it, a simple e-commerce mantra is content. The way I look at it, marketing, yesteryear's marketing is now content. Product is content, because there is no physical product with which anyone engages. It's purely how the content is defined, what's the backup data, who validates the details, what is the kind of detailing out descriptions which are given about the product, which helps the consumer almost get a touch and feel on a product which is practically virtual as far as this current engagement is concerned. Promotions is driven by content. Packaging is driven by content. And when all these, what we used to call as the classic P's of marketing, are driven by content, obviously it impacts pricing directly. Does that answer part of your question, Doctor?
Absolutely, it does. And I think you've made a great point here that content is what holds the key to generate trust with customer. I think that point is absolutely bang on. So I'll not interrupt you further. Please continue.
In a classical marketing concepts, from if Kotler were to make a slide, he would say that brands command price. Everyone is investing in brands. So do retailers, so do online space also have to generate brands. So at a point of time, people come back to a brand. When I showed you those 4 slides on the Apple iPhone with 4 varying prices, there is a reason certain number of people go to an Amazon. There is a reason that certain number of people go to a Tata. There's a reason that certain number go to a Flipkart. That's the brand. Now, in the long run, if the delivery of that brand is consistent purely on the fundamental of why is the brand, which space is the brand operating on, typically who are we, and what value do we deliver, which is the brand promise. So as long as the brand promise is delivered consistently, there would be a segment which will always patronize a certain brand proposition. The output of that is, of course, various touch points, whether it's service related or consistency in communication. Those are areas which impact pricing. I'm just taking you, just to give break the monotony of these slides, I'll take you to some of the 4 ads which I believe purely communicate who are we and what is our promise delivery from some of our key leaders in the Indian horizon today, which is Amazon and Flipkart. And I've just included jet.com, in my opinion, one of my favorite initiatives in terms of tech as well as analysis and in terms of clean communication to the customer. So if you may permit, I just want to share with you a couple of videos which kind of relate to what an Amazon does, what a Flipkart currently intends to uh, offer. What a Jet I believe is the cleanest one, but let's look at it.
Absolutely, that would be wonderful.
That's one on Amazon. Very clearly, they're spent.
Ruben, we were not able to see your video.
Oh
You,
gosh.
you need to share that screen.
Okay, 1 moment. Doctor, where do I go? I go to.
Yeah, the share screen. The second, I think, from the left.
Can you see it now?
We don't see it now. I think let's proceed. We'll towards the end. Let's see if we can show the screen again.
We can take a 30 seconds off because this would be critical for me to get the flow through because it says.
Okay, sure. So you will need to share, select the share screen option, and whichever window is your video playing on, you will need to select that one. So on the Hangout screen, please see on the left hand side the share screen button.
Yes.
You will need to select the window in which the video is playing.
Hold on. For some reason, I'm not able to get that share screen button at all.
See, on the Google Hangouts screen,
Yeah.
if you scroll your mouse to the left hand side of the screen, second button from the top is the share screen option.
Is it visible now?
We see your presentation. We don't see the video screen. We're able to see the presentation screen, not the video screen.
Okay, nevertheless, I think there is a technical glitch at my end. Apologies for that. I would share these links with you. I think participants can have a look at these videos. They're quite entertaining as well as engaging.
Is that video on YouTube? I can try to pull it from YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Would you know the title?
I will just give that to you right away. It's called the Amazon Prime. You want the code FOWJ02 SYCEY. SYCEY.
Sorry, Amazon Prime.
It's called the Amazon Prime TV ad swing.
TV ad swing. Okay. Let me just search if I can. Is it the Amazon Prime TV ad swing Amazon UK Prime Your Day
Yeah,
or 30 inches ad?
that's the one.
The first one?
Yes.
Okay. I'll try to share this from my side here. Is it the right one?
I can't see it.
Can you see it now?
I can't see it. Doesn't matter. What I'll do is I'll share these links with the participants. They can see it at post this, I guess.
Sure. Let's do that.
Apologies, sometimes technology kind of takes backseat.
No issues. We can take care of this later.
All right. The other one, of course, is Flipkart, which has clearly been communicating trust.
Ruben, can you please project your PPT?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, we are on.
So the other example, of course, is Flipkart. I'll share the link with you. But Flipkart, of course, has been realized over the years that the missing link has been trust, and most of their communication very clearly has been harping on the fact that what you get from Flipkart is purely genuine product, and there are no fakes, which is what they've been battling for the last couple of years. Jet.com, the .com, of course, I'm sure all of you would know, is one of the, in my opinion, one of the technology offshoots where fabulous analytics has been used to offer the best savings to the customer. I have a few slides, so I think we can skip this. And as far as the Tata offering goes, given that it comes from the house of Tata with 120 years of Tata legacy, it helps to generate trust in the initial period for people to try out because it comes from the Tata. But on an ongoing basis, obviously, the site and the online retail has to generate its own trust statement as well as behavior so that customers relate to Tata Click rather than Tata. So that's the challenge that one is working on right now, where I am currently employed. And the clear proposition is to offer trust through exclusive brands via the omni-channel advantage. I will touch upon the omni-channel advantage as well, which is another opportunity which I believe is here to stay and will be one of the key success factors in the coming years. Some standard statement, of course, content drives trust, assuring arguments. This is an example of a classic example where I'm talking about Jet.com. Their communication is absolutely clear. They have about 10 million product listings. The communication to the customer is you would get this product at the best possible price across any retailer. And to do that, they have an amazingly good technology backup which generates intelligence across all touch points, whether it's their partners, whether it's their warehouse, whether it's their gateway, whether the cost structure on which they're built in. If you can clearly see this, they have a base price of $10.9. They know just to mitigate risks, which are the big risks that we're talking about right now. In terms of cost risks, I'm not talking about risk in terms of it's purely cost risks, which is the returns, which is a high percentage of cost, which impacts a lot of retailers. To cover that risk, they're giving a benefit to the customer, saying if you opt out of returns, this is the next price. Payment gateways are very expensive in India. To opt out of that, if a customer is willing to pay via debit card, there's another benefit to the customer. And if both the options are chosen, there's a further benefit to the customer. And the other one is because of their back-end integration in terms of the ability to map out all their sourcing as well as logistics touch points. They also have the capability, apart from larger number of unit packaging, they have also related unit packaging from close close proximity, where they optimize the logistics to put the entire order into one packet and save on logistics cost again. All those benefits are actually passed on to the customer. So this is their typical product display page. And parallelly, they also generate trust through a credible route where their transparency levels are also extremely high. If you tap on anything which is called detail, you will see something like this as to why this happens. They are very clearly saying, I am giving you a benefit because I get a benefit not paying the credit card service provider and keeping that money with me. I pass on that benefit to you. Flipkart on the same tone has been working. This is the latest product display page for a Flipkart site, which is not even up and about across the site. It's still work in progress. They've been working, I guess it'll take another week or so before the entire site gets revamped. You would see here in terms of the level of detailing when they're talking about a product in the electronic space, which is obviously higher engagement and very technical specification oriented before a consumer decides to purchase a product. They've gone to great lengths to ensure that one, the content is accurate, two, the content is validated, three, all the operational fronts, whether it's EMI related, whether it's cashback related, every opportunity is covered through specific terms and conditions so that there is no ambiguity when a customer takes a transaction. For example, EMI, very clearly they've given the EMI options coming from all the banks at whatever rate. So people can choose a particular bank of their comfort before they go for an option like this. Tata on the other side is working on the branded route. The fact that one, we are selling genuine products, we are selling genuine brands. And to top it up, we are offering exclusive brands which are available only on this site, as well as through a delivery mechanism which offers omni-channel, which offers you the flexibility and going and picking up the product from a nearby store so that you also get the advantage of experience and also get the advantage of faster deliveries. These are multiple directions that various online retailers are taking. These are some things which are clearly spelling out the brand proposition to the consumer as to why they should be shopping on their site. This is an extension of Tata where an exclusive brand with Omni delivery gives you very clearly, if you can see the click and collect option, you can go to the store, try it out. If it doesn't, you can return it back at the store. All the hassle of waiting for a logistic provider to come after 2 days, take your product back, give you a refund or a credit note is all taken care of here. It can be done in a matter of a click. Close by nearby store, which is maybe a 15 minutes away from your place. Go pick it up, check out the product, and you have a fulfilling experience. So continuing on our content paths, if I were to break up content into 3 parts to generate trust, there is a basic statement saying, if I make a statement that this is the best product and the best price, that's the statement. This needs to be validated through data. And once the data is provided, it can be validated, ratified by a known expert in that particular field or industry. The 3 together become claim data ratified product. It generates significantly higher trust value vis-a-vis a standard claim made without any ratification from an expert. I've just put together a simple grid. I needed to explain what claim data authorization would mean. So the impact on a lower price product ranging to a high price product, these variables have different impacts. Very clearly, the engagement or the relationship or the engagement involvement of a customer when he or she is buying a high value price product is significantly higher vis-a-vis a customer buying a lower value price. That's human behavior. That's the way people shop. So if you see from a characteristics perspective, if the content is ratified, which is strong content, vis-a-vis weak content, if you put it on an y-axis and an x-axis, you would see for high price items, both factors need to be high. While for low price entry-level products, you can get away with content which might not be of that much granularity in terms of detailing out. So these are some of the things, because content also in the online space comes at a huge expense. We all know that creating content is one of the large costs heads as far as the online space is concerned. So this also gives us a perspective on where do we invest more as far as generating and investing on high quality content, and where we can save or be a little smart about it to enhance profitability. This is a graphical representation of the same table. If you would see, of course, claim data backing impacts the high price areas, generating trust significantly more compared to the lowest price products. Moving on to the other critical success factor is the omni-channel way. Omni-channel very clearly creates an opportunity which is evolving in the market today, both from the brand front, the offline retail front, as well as a complete 360-degree fulfillment for the consumer. It enhances brand engagement purely from a lot of the likes of Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal are all using this as one factor of optimizing delivery cost. But this channel is significantly more than just optimizing logistics. It enhances service. It drives trust by integrating the offline to the online, which is a big gap as we speak now. It enhances perceived value. Automatically, the moment you enhance perceived value, the opportunity to upsell is significantly higher. It optimizes business operations for the brand, for the offline retailer as well, integrating their backend with the online partner brings in humongous efficiencies in their day-to-day operation. Whether it's payment related, whether it's delivery related, whether it is inventory optimization within their circuit is related. And of course, a huge opportunity which a lot of people are now working on is, of course, the product after sale service. Once there is a guaranteed product after sale service, purely research clearly has been showing for the last many years that that's one of the critical factors which is stopping customers, for a large number of customers, to actually shop high value items or items which require after sale service. Once the omni-channel presence gets in, it kind of takes care of all these issues, because the offline setup already has an infrastructure and is dealing with the after sale service. Once it gets integrated with the online space, these two start flowing seamlessly. Just to give you an example, this is a live example. John Lewis, a very successful retailer in the UK. From the offline space, they've also moved on to the online space. They are rapidly growing. They're one of the more successful offline retailers moving to the online space. They have moved 40% of their e-commerce engagement to be delivered via the click and collect option, which pretty much means that out of 100 people who come onto their website, 40 people are actually going to their stores to pick up the merchandise. Look at the opportunity that this have, and from the offline retailer space perspective, 33% of those actually go on to buy additional stuff from the store. This is actual data from one of our partners who works with John Lewis. So given this scenario, where do you think that this leads to trust? I would throw open the questions for the audience to put up. So if there is anything else which I need to cover, I think on these two aspects, I'll be happy to share my views with you.
Well, thank you so much, Ruben. You've covered many critical points. You've very nicely described why trust is important and what needs to be done to establish trust with your customers, and how does trust actually helps companies get pricing power and being able to charge higher prices also. Now you gave this very interesting example about an iPhone, where Apple site was selling this product at 39,000 Amazon is selling it at 34,290, Flipkart at 35,390, and Tata ClickSite at 35,900. Now we've seen some similar behavior with transportation pricing also, passenger transportation pricing. We've seen oftentimes there are flight charges that are cheaper than train charges, but still there are people who want to travel by train, and again this goes along the lines of trust. Probably there is still a segment of customers that values the trust in that trusts railways more than the flights, which seems to be the case. Now there is also another element which is lack of information. Do you think these types of price disparities also exist because people still are living in those ages where they still do not have all the information available, or the tools and mechanisms they have to compare different alternatives is still limited? Do you think there is a case like that as well, or you think
The
it's
online,
purely
yeah, sorry. In the online space, that gap is kind of close to nil. Various kinds of content, like I said, there are websites who specialize in comparing, which is the key difference between the offline space and the opportunity in the online space. Online space is at a click of a button, you can compare pretty much all known products. Anything which is branded, even Amazon has its own site called jungly.com. There are My Smart Price. There are multiple affiliates working on specific categories. You have WJSM Arena. You click on it, it will give you pricing, operating pricing of all the mobiles in the categories. So as far as visibility to customers, given technology and the level of content which is available and being pushed on a daily basis, on a minute by minute basis, is so high. So there is very little space to hide as far as known value products are concerned. So that's an area, in my opinion, it's not like people are not aware of what the pricing are. It could be possible there could be a few small retailers or some accessibility issue in some places, delivery issues where people can get away. See, what you don't see in the face of it is, if I were to say I'm selling it at 35,000, say for example, retailer A is selling it at 35,000, retailer B is selling it at 34,000, and retailer C is selling it at 37,000. That's what a consumer, say, sitting in Bombay or Delhi would see. But if you go to the next level and you click on it, and the biggest one which comes in is serviceability. Now, typically what would happen is the retailer B who's selling it at 37,000 might still be selling large volumes purely because that retailer has the capability to service multiple pin codes across India. I mean, India has about what, if I'm not mistaken, about 28,000 pin codes. The person who wins the pin code spread, which is purely like in the offline business or the manufacturing business, what we call as distribution. So if you click on it, and if you're sitting in, say, Asansol somewhere, you might see a 35,000, but that 35,000 is not going to be delivered to Asansol, while a 37,000 gets delivered to Asansol. So for that consumer, 37,000 is the best price. So there are multiple other aspects which actually impact the final delivery of a product at a price. And of course, what we've been discussing through the entire discussion that we've had today is purely trust. There are enough number of people who would trust that if Amazon says I'm going to deliver in 2 days, I will get the product in 2 days. That's where flexibility of price elasticity, the need, I will pay for my need. If my perceived value is to get it day after tomorrow, I am willing to pay 500 rupees more. If time is not of essence, I'm willing to wait for 10-15 days, then I will go for the lower price. So these are all logics and analysis which happens on a minute by minute, day by day, with a huge army of analysts across all these retailers who pull out insights as to how do I optimize the exact pricing to be able to get. So they might have lost some 10 or 100 consumers because of in a particular zone, but because of their accessibility, they also manage to service significantly more number of consumers who are outside the realm of the direct delivery.
Absolutely. Great point. We have a question sent to us by Mr. Venugopal Chipur. He's from New Jersey. And his question is, what defines trust? And the part B of the question is, even if trust is established, Can it defy relative pricing index?
It can. I am not in a position to say whether it can define, but it can surely direct and dictate pricing. What defines trust? Uh, there are when I started my conversation with the audience was very clearly there are a mix of rational, tangible and intangibles, which is rational and emotional. It varies by person, by segment, by category. Specifically, let me give you an example. It's Valentine's Day. A rose will sell for $10. It is non-Valentine's Day and it is raining somewhere. The same rose will sell for $1. What's the pricing? It's the demand, the value of that product at any point of time vis-a-vis the perceived value that the consumer expects to get pretty much defines pricing. That fundamentally doesn't change. So pretty much if I am standing specifically, when you see there are products which are commodities where the price elasticity is very limited. If I have to buy a bar of soap, I'm not going to pay a premium in a standard norm. I'm going and buying a gift for my friend, which is more or less exclusive, a product which is not comparable. Then that value of that product at that point of time pretty much defines the price of the product. So, have I answered the question? I think we can go back to the.
No,
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are multiple factors that come into picture when we are talking about trust. And even I was also thinking on the same lines that while there are several qualitative aspects to trust, can it be really quantified? And if it can be quantified, are there any specific techniques you would propose that retailers should follow in terms of constantly measuring trust? How would I know whether my customers trust me or not?
See, I mean, you are the expert in this area. There would be, I think, this is, I think there would be the more data points that you possibly get on this, the more accurate you could possibly be. In my opinion, for example, if we list down we list down broad categories, we list down the basic tangibles, and then we do customer profiling in terms of the moods as well as the profile, and which are the intangibles which impact people at various points of time. So I think my little understanding is there are a lot of people working on this. This is pretty much to say is the ability to predict fashion. What I might like blue today, I might not like blue tomorrow. So to be able to say a blue shirt can be priced at ₹1 today, $1 or $10 today is as flexible to the fact that what's the need it's going to service. So given your organization, I think there's a huge opportunity for Sciative to take this up as increasing the multiple the multiple matrices which you can take in as feeds. And the more data you get, the more better the ability to be able to forecast this.
I guess we do have some approaches that look into this piece. Some are related to internal operations metrics, some are related to the behaviors that correlate with trust. Okay, so say for example, the repeat rates that we observe with customers, or the kinds of engagements and the kinds of posts customers are doing on social media, and the kinds of repeat behavior we are observing, even if they are not buying. Are we able to become their first choice in the online space? These are some of the things that are used on the quantitative space, and just was curious if there is any new thing that has come beyond this.
Yeah, of course. See, that is where again I come back to my basic premise on content. In fact, pricing and like when you mentioned repeat purchase now has a lot of factors which are influencing customers to come back to a site, whether through content, whether through innovative way of communicating, which enhances consumption also. See, the entire premise of generating business is one is to repeat, two is to entice customer. If I want to buy one product, how do I make that person buy two instead of one? So these are all driven by communication, and on online space, all these are done through content. Now I make a product which is spinning in front of me as desirable vis-a-vis a flat surface. Instead of putting a PDP, now a lot of generation is happening in terms of ability to move to video. Why are they doing that? Video entails the conversion level goes up, the interest level and the engagement level with that product significantly goes up. They're getting into virtual space. A classic good example, of course, this is not new to the international space, but in the Indian, in the last few years, for example, the Madura Garments, aboff.com, is one of the recent ventures where their page views are actually incredibly high, purely because they have this virtual interaction tool put up on their website, which helps women try on garments, give all the specifications. This pure thing basically drives engagement, which means the consumer spends more time on the website. And once they get more time on the website, their interest or inclination to move on to a competitor would significantly come down. The moment that happens, you have a captive audience. That captive
So,
audience will obviously be able to generate significantly higher per unit sale versus a higher a premium for a service which has intangibles associated with it.
absolutely. I think there is a lot of space for disruptions in the way engagements happen between customers in the online space. And as you rightly mentioned, there are some amazing things that have happened in the recent past which are leading this one. Now, we have some questions posted on Twitter by our audience. I'll take those questions now. Mrunmai has posted a very interesting question. She would like to know, why do customers make purchase from DMart? Is it because of trust or is it low price?
Okay. Fundamentally, this is what I'm saying. I've seen a Mercedes-Benz stop in front of a DMart and a cycle stop in front of a DMart. So the customer, in terms of basic demographic, is across the board. So it's not like only a certain segment goes to DMart. Where I stay, I have a DMart, I have a Heiko, which is premium, I have a Nature's Basket. For those who do not know, Nature's Basket outside this country is one of the premium grocery stores in India, run by a very reputed and old Indian conglomerate called Godrej. They really sell an incredibly wide assortment of international as well as domestic premium products. Heiko is a store which is selling a wider range, again, of a premium product. DMart sells pretty much day-to-day stuff at the best possible price. So all known value items, typically in my experience from retail, a known value item doesn't command the price elasticity. For example, if I were to buy a Kellogg's 500 gram cornflakes packet, DMart, I can vouch for it, the price at DMart will always be lower than anyone else. This is a product which gets replenished in the household, whether it's a Kellogg's, whether it's standard replenishments of the household stuff, will always be cheapest at DMart. So that's the reason people go to DMart. They vouch for that. This is similar to on the online space what I would compare with the Best Buy or a Walmart, typically internationally. You want the best price, you go to DMart. DMart, the other thing which is an intangible that DMart offers is also that DMart operationally is the best checkout compared to any of these three examples I'm giving you. The most premium, though DMart has the longest queue, the time that you spend out of checkout till is about half that of Heiko and one-third that of Godrej, Godrej grocery outlet, Nature's Basket. So, like I said, again, it comes back to certain things which are overtly stated, saying I have the best. I mean, in terms of your daily requirements, I am the cheapest. To the experience for people who go into DMart is fabulous, in spite of whether you have 10 people in front of you or 5 people in front of you. That checkout experience is, I think, one of the best.
So great. So it's not just the lowest price, but the entire operations, the way they manage the operations, it's actually geared towards addressing the basic hygienes of everyday shopping needs. Things such as, are the aisles wide enough for people to navigate easily? Are the shelves stocked properly enough? Is there enough merchandise? And then the checkout experience, which is irritating experiences in weekly shopping trips at most of the other places, and definitely DMart trumps on that space as well. And as
So
you
these are
rightly
some
said,
of the things which I believe some of the more organized and modern day retailers kind of miss out, where bigger conglomerates get more professionals coming in. There are certain subtle things like loyalty, retention. For example, there used to be a very popular retailer in Bangalore called MKM. I mean, if there are some audience from Bangalore, they would know. MKMH checkout is again fabulous. Purely the reason is one, the process in which they check out, the authorization given to the checkout in charge, and three, their percentage people who leave the organization is extremely low. Because of which people who are at the till are extremely trained and they are used to the till better than most other new retailers. What happens in the new retailer, people come stay for 6 months leave. The next person comes in is not as trained. So the efficiency level is significantly lower dealing with that machine. So these are things, and how they do it is, of course, there are various ways of doing it in terms of that requires in terms of how they deal with the Indian culture. There's certain, they actually help the family, they attend their weddings. So there is a level of loyalty which is created. These are some of the things which are not overtly visible how they make it happen. But fundamentally, these are the things which distinguish a DMart or an MKMH from the other more well-known and not so efficient retailers offline.
And I would also add Sehkari Bhandar to this list of retailers that has been able to retain their employees for longer, which actually reflects in the way their employees interact with customers. I mean, I have myself experienced situations where the store staff knew exactly what the person is going to order. They knew exactly how many bottles of olive oil 5 liter packaging that customer is going to purchase, how many cartons of packaged milk the person is going to purchase, and the customer called the store staff in advance. She kept everything ready and made sure that all her stuff was delivered right up to her car. I think these are some of the subtle things that goes long way, and some things can be quantified, some things cannot be, but that's how this world is. Okay, we have another.
Surely be documented and given in so that the best practice is consistent.
Yes, absolutely. Now we have another question posted by Sheetal, and it's a very interesting question. I think she would like to know: is ZMOT, zero moment of truth, significant for e-commerce business? So she's referring to interactions that customers have, even the interactions they have with the brand, even before they start
Engaging.
considering that brand for the process, for the purpose of purchases or services.
Absolutely. I think this is a extremely good question. We've been used to moment of truth, which is the first engagement with the brand when you are dealing with an engagement as far as buying decision is concerned. But there are multiple other engagements which will happen with a brand, which might be even before you decide to buy that product. These are uh, engagements which have far deeper impact on the brand engagement than actually the first moment of truth. A classical example, instead of sounding very dark right now, I'll give you a classic example. Uh, Everyone admires the Mercedes-Benz, marvel of engineering. If you generally ask, do any research, I don't think you'll get anything negative about a Mercedes-Benz. So from a brand perspective, brand promise, they're delivering consistently, there's no issue. But imagine in a scenario where that Mercedes-Benz has not given a very favorable engagement. It could have met with an accident or had a bad thing, you sat in it and it didn't move at some point of time. That engagement would, no matter how much of brand building happens or brand communication happens with that individual or potential customer, that customer will find it very difficult to move on to that brand. So these are what you would call, so typically example, you pick up a garment and you've seen the garment being used by somebody else and you don't see it, the engagement has not been or the interaction has not been so great. Those seriously have grave ramifications in terms of the potential of that customer engaging with the brand.
Absolutely. We have another question.
And these moments of truth actually, there are certain things which can't be controlled, but a large percentage of such instances can be controlled if the brand actually, the organization of that brand behaves both inside and outside, behaves consistently.
Absolutely. So consistency and having a deeper value system and making sure that it reflects in your everyday operation, that kind of becomes super important here. And this reminds me of another great company, which is Starbucks. I mean, when when people ask me why do people customers go to Starbucks, is it because of the brand or is it something else? Well, brand can maybe get visits a couple of times, but people go there about 5 times in a week customers. In fact, more than 50% of their customers go to Starbucks stores at least 5 times in a week. And it's not just because of the brand, but it is because of the everyday attention, the consistent attention they get every single day, the consistency in the product, the consistency in the service, and consistency in the experience. And it reflects in the value statement of the company, which says to inspire human spirit, one cup, one coffee, one store at a time. I think these companies need to ingrain such value systems and make sure that they reflect these value systems in every single interaction they have with the client. That's really great.
I think
Another question,
big
yeah,
value.
please.
Basically, the value system consistency is the most important. There are no right and wrongs, but whatever you stand for, you need to be consistent.
Absolutely. Now, see, with this consistency thing, one thing that always puzzles me is that you mentioned example of this iPhone where Flipkart, they were having different prices, and now in the back end, these companies are not the owners of those products. They're the suppliers of these products. The actual distributors for these products are going to be very different. Now, organizations are working with a complex network of sub-organizations or partners in some sense, which are now involved in the value delivery process. And now this aspect of reliability and consistency needs to be ensured even when you are working in this network kind of organizations. What are your thoughts on this? How should
Which is why
companies,
a lot of
yeah,
investment is actually going in basically plugging all possible gaps in the value delivery system. So it is not like a system that you come and pick it up from me. The value delivery system is completely visible. Since the network is so complicated, this is why technology comes in handy, where the likes of an Amazon and a Flipkart have a huge advantage because the technology backend is actually quite good, where they are able to monitor and track every movement or exchange of a product in the entire circle till the delivery fulfillment doesn't happen. Typically, if you were to pick this up from an Amazon perspective, they pretty much know. For example, now Amazon has something called an Amazon Prime, which they're talking about, which ensures that you get delivery within 24 hours, irrespective of what happens. That the entire operation of that is end-to-end controlled by Amazon. They are on a daily basis, they monitor the efficiency of all their partners on standard matrices, and anyone who slips beyond a matris is one called out, and anyone who slips beyond a matris more than twice or thrice is blacklisted. So these are all mathematical mathematically driven. For example, if you have 1 lakh sellers and the multiple matrices and scenarios which crop up, the more and more you reduce the probability of a thing to happen, that thing will not happen. Which is why I'm saying, when you said value system, if integrity is a stark value of consistency across all business organizations, whether it's online, the probability of mistakes will be minimized. It's like somebody getting a 90 out of 9 out of 10. In a normal parlance, it's good. But in the process in integrity, no, it's not, because a 9 out of 10 next time becomes an 8.1 out of 10, then it becomes a 7.2 out of 10, then it becomes a 6.3 out of 10. So within 5 dealings, your probability of engagement dips to a inaccuracy level of about 50%. So these are steps when you control every mechanism, every step as a process, and there are value addition and there are checks in place. You minimize the 9 out of 10 to a 9.5 to a 9.6 to a 9.8. And finally, you basically 10 to 100, which you know is something which is a want, it doesn't happen. But as you work towards tending that to 100%, your such instances will drastically come down. So the thing is, you know that the cost-benefit analysis at some point of time doesn't work, but those are things that large businesses and people who want to build brands over a long run need to invest in to bring that in a controllable fashion.
Absolutely. And I recall towards the beginning, you had mentioned that the basics in this industry doesn't change. And again, we are talking about basics of applying some sort of Six Sigma techniques and making sure that every process is being executed correctly. Every process is being optimized, and every process, the significance in the value delivery process is being established. Standards are being set, consistent monitoring happens on those standards, and then corrective actions are taken as deviations are observed. Now, we'll take one last question. We have run out of time. This question is posted by Kamaljeet, and his question is very interesting. He would like to know what are the challenges to e-commerce in rural India?
Delivery. E-commerce India,
Okay.
the opportunity is huge from one side because the online presence in internet penetration is one of the fastest. We all know that, so that's not something which I bring into the table which people do not know. Once that happens, right now the fundamental challenge in the rural environment for e-commerce is purely delivery, and because the backbone of e-commerce right now is delivery, logistics and fulfillment. In our country, the infrastructure is running behind schedule by about 5-10 years till such time which is why with all the new regulations coming in, whether it's offline or online, a lot of the international partners are expected to invest in infrastructure. I mean, as simple as roads. I mean, product. In my opinion, that's the biggest gap that we face right now. But the opportunity is huge. The exposure via media, via online, there are enough and more people who are getting exposed to these channels. There is a huge latent need in terms of how do you plug that through fabulous delivery is what the opportunity is. The hygiene level of what is expected in as a classic service level might be at a lower level, which makes things a little easier in the longer run. These are a more competitive environment like a metro. But nevertheless, I think I don't want to sound repetitive, but I think delivery is going to be the biggest challenge.
Absolutely. Delivery, there's a saying, what is visible gets sold. That used to be in the parlance of the offline retail, but I think in the parlance of online retail, what can be delivered will get sold.
Will get sold,
And
absolutely. You bang on that.
well, thank you so much for this highly engaging and informative session today. I'm sure our audience will take several tips on how to bring back focus on the basics in the business because basics don't change. And one of the most important aspects that retailers need to focus on is activities that generate trust, and the rest of the business will follow suit. Well, thank you so much for this great session today.
Thanks so much, Doctor. I think it was insightful for me. I think pretty nice, good questions which have made me think as well. I think the more I engage in such things, the more I learn as well. Thank you so much. And for the patient hearing from our audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and we hope we will be able to host you again fairly soon. For our audience, this session is being conducted by Sciative Solutions. Sciative helps companies grow and compete profitably through its scientific price optimization solutions and services. Please keep checking our website for future sessions in the Sciative Knowledge Series. Our next session is on Monday, August 22nd at 9 a.m. Central Time, and our speaker is Joseph Marigliano, live from Chicago. Well, thank you for joining today and hope to see you in our future sessions. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye bye.